I stood behind the half-open door, listening, not hiding, not eavesdropping, just listening. My wife was humming that soft, tuneless hum she always used when she thought no one was watching. I used to love that sound. It used to mean peace, safety, home. Now it sounded like a trap being baited. She sat in the nursery with the baby wrapped in the same yellow blanket I picked out during her second trimester. That blanket had caused a ridiculous argument and target. She said ducks were gender neutral. I said it looked like a hospital rag, but she smiled when she saw it again that afternoon and said it was perfect. So I bought it. Of course I did. Back then, everything I did was about making her feel seen, secure, loved. She did not hear me walk in. She did not even flinch when I stepped fully into the doorway, holding the envelope in one hand like it was a dead bird, not an accusation, not a weapon, just the truth folded and sealed in white paper with a Clinic S logo stamped at the top. She was talking to the baby in this ridiculous sing-song voice, telling him Daddy was going to take him on his first fishing trip soon, telling him that he had her eyes and my nose. I did not interrupt. I waited. Something in me wanted her to finish the lie before I destroyed it. She kissed his forehead, whispered something only he could hear. Then she finally turned around. And that S when I said it? The sentence that ripped the air out of the room. As you doted on the baby you called ours. I handed you the DNA report, and the room went completely silent. She blinked once, twice, then looked down at the envelope. She did not reach for it. She just looked then like she was ordering lunch. She asked, "And what am I supposed to do with that?" There was no tremble in her voice. No guilt, not even annoyance. Just this cold detachment that I had never seen before. Like she was not really there. "You already know what it says," I replied. "I'm not his father." She smiled, a flicker of something, not relief, not shame, closer to amusement. "You read being dramatic." I could hear the blood in my ears. "No, I'm being precise. It has science. He has not mine." "Technically," she said, standing up slowly, like I just told her dinner was ready, "he is still your son." That S when it hit me. She was already 100 miles past this moment. She de-rehearsed it. She was not shocked. She was not scared. She was prepared. Every word she said had the smooth, practiced edge of someone who already knew the ending. "I raised him," she added. "I carried him. I fed him. I named him. You just existed next to it." I did not answer. Could not. My mind was racing in every direction, trying to land on a memory that felt solid, real, untainted. But everything started to feel staged, orchestrated, like I had unknowingly walked onto a set where everyone knew their lines but me. "Who is the father?" I finally asked. She tilted her head. "Does it matter?" I took a step toward her. "Who is he, Madison?" Her eyes narrowed. She did not back away, did not look guilty, did not even blink. Instead, she said it like she was dropping a glass on a marble floor just to hear it shatter. "Someone who actually knows how to make me feel alive." And that was it. The sentence that rearranged my world. Everything slowed. Not in the poetic way people describe when they say time stopped. More like everything got stuck. My thoughts, my hands, even my lungs. She had thrown the match. Now she wanted to watch the house burn. The baby whimpered in the background. I did not even look at him. Could not. My eyes were locked on her. Searching for the woman I married inside the shell of the one standing in front of me. But she was gone. Or maybe she'd never been there to begin with. I did not leave right away. I should have. Any sane man would have walked out and slammed the door so hard it shook the walls. But I stood there frozen in the middle of that soft-colored nursery surrounded by stuffed animals and lies. My fingers were still curled around the DNA envelope. Like if I held it long enough, it might rewrite itself. Erase everything. Tell me I was wrong. But no, it just hung there between us. Proof. Silent. Simple. Undeniable. Madison brushed past me. She did not storm out. She did not cry or scream or try to explain. She just walked like nothing had happened. Like this was a minor inconvenience in her afternoon. She did not even glance back as she left the room. Only pausing at the doorway to say, "You should eat something. You look pale." I followed her into the kitchen. Not because I wanted to, but because I could not let it end like that. I needed more. I needed a crack. A stutter. Something to remind me that she was human. She poured herself a glass of sparkling water. The kind she always claimed was essential for digestion. I watched her twist the cap off, take a slow sip, and lean against the counter like we were talking about grocery lists. "So," she said finally, "what's the plan now?" I stared at her. "You cheat on me. You lie for months. You let me bond with a child that's not mine. And your first question is about logistics." She shrugged. "You always overcomplicate things, Nate. The baby's here. He needs parents. Nothing has to change." Everything had already changed. But she said it like we were discussing rearranging furniture. "You unbelievable." She looked up sharply. "No. What's unbelievable is how you always play the victim. Like life is something that just happens to you. Like you were not part of this." I laughed. But there was no humor in it. "Part of what?" "The part where I believed you. The part where I gave you everything and you spit in my face." "Grow up," she snapped. "You think you're the only man whose wife got bored?" There it was. The confession. She did not say it outright. But it was in the air now, heavy and sour. "How long?" I asked. She rolled her eyes. "Does it matter?" "Yes," I said through clenched teeth. "It does." She paused just long enough to be cruel. "Then about a year, maybe a little more." It was not some big dramatic affair, if that's what you're picturing. It was simple, clean. I echoed, stunned. "You think this is clean?" She set her glass down. Annoyed. "You always need some big emotional scene. Some breakdown. Life is not a movie. Nape. People screw up. People change. I did not fall in love with you again after the wedding. And you did not notice because you were too busy trying to be the perfect husband." I felt like the floor had tilted. She was rewriting our history in real time. Turning my love into obligation. My care into control. My loyalty into blindness. "Who is he?" I asked again, lower this time. She smirked. "You've met him." My mouth went dry. "You lying?" "Nope." You shook his hand. "I think you even thanked him once for helping us move that stupid couch into the living room." The room spun. "Ryan," I whispered. She did not answer. She did not need to. Her silence was the answer. Ryan. My coworker. My friend. The guy I invited over after his divorce to cheer him up. The guy who held my kid while I made drinks. The guy who told me I was lucky to have her. I backed away. The edges of my vision tightening. Every memory of them. Every laugh. Every glance I had not thought twice about. Now glowed red with betrayal. "I'm going to destroy you for this," I said, quiet but shaking. She did not flinch. "You can try. But be careful. Nate, you do not want to look like the bitter husband who walked out on a child after raising him for 9 months. My skin turned to ice. She thought this through. She had her angles, her backup stories, her lines rehearsed. She was not sorry. She was ready. I looked around the kitchen, the home we built, the life we were supposed to be living, and realized I was standing on a stage, and the audience had been laughing at me for months. I turned and walked out without saying another word. But I did not leave the house. Not yet. There was one more thing I needed to do first. I walked straight to the guest bedroom. The one Madison insisted we convert into a quiet space last fall. She never used it. Said the lighting was bad and the walls felt sad. But I used it a lot actually, when I needed silence, when I needed to think. And now when I needed answers, I locked the door behind me and opened the closet, buried under old yoga mats and a box labeled holiday crap. There was a worn leather duffel bag. Madison did not know about it. It was mine long before we married, military grade, sturdy as hell. Inside was everything I started putting together about 3 weeks ago when my stomach told me something was wrong, but my heart was not ready to listen. The DNA test had been the final straw, not the first suspicion. It started with Madison's phone. She used to leave it everywhere, on the counter, on the bed, in the fridge once. But lately, that thing was surgically attached to her hand. Always face down, always locked. I once asked what time it was while she was holding it, and she said, "Use your own phone." That was the moment I knew something had shifted. And she was hiding it in plain sight. So I started watching, not stalking, just observing quietly. Every time she left for a late Target run, I noted the mileage on the car. Every time she said she was with friends, I checked her location history on the family iCloud. A feature she forgot I had access to. She was not going to Target. And she was not with friends. She was always at the same address. One I did not recognize until I did. Ryan's. It hit me so hard. I actually dropped my phone the first time I saw it. I did not confront her then. I needed more. I needed it airtight. Because I knew Madison. She did not confess. She deflected. She weaponized your doubt and made you feel like the crazy one. So I printed text logs, screenshots, times, dates. Even the night she told me she had food poisoning and slept at her sister's. That same night, her phone was at Ryan's place for 6 hours. I even placed a tiny tracking device, one of those Apple AirTags, in the bottom of her gym bag. I felt disgusting doing it. Like I was becoming a person I did not recognize. But now I was glad I did. I spread everything out on the bed: DNA results, text logs, GPS history, photos. I had built a case strong enough to crush any counter-narrative she tried to spin. But that was not why I was in here. I needed to know why. And the only place I had not checked. The one thing that had always felt off-limits was her journal. She kept one. Still does. Always locked in the bottom drawer of her writing desk. She said it helped her process the world. I never touched it. I respected her privacy. Not anymore. I unlocked her drawer with the small silver key she hid behind a photo frame. Same place she'd kept it for years. Probably thinking I never noticed. I pulled out the leather-bound book and opened to the most recent entry. The date was 5 days ago. I had a dream that the baby opened his eyes and they were Ryan's. I woke up terrified. Not that Nate would find out. But that he already knew and was just waiting for the right moment. Sometimes I wonder if he's smarter than he lets on or just too tired to care. Either way, I'm almost at peace with whatever happens. The baby is mine. And no piece of paper will change that. My hands tightened around the journal. She was not even afraid. She was resigned. Like I was some minor obstacle in her plan. Something to be moved aside once the timing was right. I put everything back in the bag, zipped it, and took a deep breath. My heart was not pounding anymore. It was steady, focused. Madison wanted to control the story. She wanted to paint me as a coward. A jealous wreck. A man who could not handle real life. But I was not going to yell. I was not going to cry. And I sure as hell was not going to disappear. She wanted to play this out in silence. Fine. Let the silence become a weapon. She did not know I'd already spoken to a lawyer. She did not know the papers were ready. She did not know I was planning something that would make her little affair look like spilled coffee. And she did not know that Ryan, her precious backup plan, had a secret of his own. That part, that was going to be the fun one. The silence did not last. Not even 24 hours. I woke up on the couch with my duffel bag at my feet. Still zipped. Untouched. I barely slept. My body had shut down for a few hours out of pure exhaustion. But my mind never stopped. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Madison smile when she said his name. Ryan played on a loop like a sick lullaby. By noon, the air in the house felt different, electric charged. Madison was not in the nursery. The baby was in his bassinet, quiet, like he could feel the storm shifting. She was not in the kitchen, not in our bedroom. She was standing by the front window, fully dressed in heels and a pressed blazer, sipping coffee like she was about to head into a business meeting. "I assume you found your little collection," she said, eyes still fixed on the street. I did not answer. I did not need to. She turned, arms crossed. "You think you've got this all figured out, do not you? You admitted it, Madison." She smiled. "No, I confirmed what you already believed. That's different. But sure, let us pretend you won some moral victory. I'm not playing games with you," I said, stepping closer. "This is our marriage, our home. And you invited a parasite into it." She did not even flinch. "Careful. That parasite could be raising your child if you keep acting like this." I laughed. Short, dry. "He is not my child." She took a long sip of coffee. "Then why have not you left?" And there it was, her biggest miscalculation. She thought she was playing chess, but she'd forgotten I'd learned how to wait. I could take it after hit, let her think she was 3 moves ahead, then flip the whole board. I'd done it in business. I'd done it in courtrooms. And now I do it right here in our living room. "I have not left," I said calmly, "because you've built your entire story around me staying. You need me here. You need the image, the stability. You need the guy who looks like he is still trying. But what you do not need, what you never expected, is the guy who is 2 steps ahead of you." Her jaw tightened, but only for a second. "You're bluffing." I walked over to the entry table and dropped the manila folder on top of her coffee table books. She stared at it like it was ticking. "What's that?" "Everything you've lied about in writing, backed by timestamps, phone logs, GPS records, paternity test. And here's the best part. A notarized statement from Ryan's ex-wife." Madison blinked. She reached out to me. I continued. "Found me on LinkedIn of all places. Said she noticed some familiar patterns. I guess Ryan's got a type. Women who like married men and houses they did not earn." For the first time since all of this started, Madison looked unsure. I pressed the advantage. "She told me Ryan's in debt, heavy debt, maxed cards, frozen assets. His ex is going after him for unpaid child support from a different kid he pretended was not his." "Sound familiar?" "No," she said. But her voice wavered. "Oh yeah, you picked a real winner. He's not just a scumbag. He's a liability. And now he's yours." Madison stepped forward. All pretense of control slipping from her voice. "You would not do this. You would not blow everything up like this." I locked eyes with her. "You did that the second you invited him into our life." Then I pulled out the final document, divorce papers, signed, stamped, ready. She stared at them. And I watched her face shift. Not sadness, not panic, strategy, always strategy, calculations firing behind her eyes, working through her next angle. "I'll fight you for custody," she said. "I'll drag you through every court in the state." "You see not," I said, "He's not mine." "You want to name Ryan as the father? Go for it. I've already withdrawn my name from the birth certificate. Legally, I'm a stranger to that child. You made sure of that." Her hand trembled slightly. She masked it by adjusting her sleeve. But I saw it. The first crack. And I was not done. "I've already met with child services. Let them know I was deceived into a fraudulent paternal role, gave them everything, texts, records, the journal." Her mouth parted. "Oh yeah, I read it. Every word. You actually thought I would not. You thought you were untouchable because I loved you, but you forgot. Love only works when it's real. Yours was performance. Mine was commitment. And now it's evidence." Madison said nothing. She just stood there, coffee cooling in her hand, staring at a man she clearly did not recognize anymore. "I'll be gone by the end of the week," I said. "The house is yours. I'm not staying where I was treated like a placeholder." She swallowed hard. "What do I tell people?" "Tell them the truth," I said, walking past her. "If you can remember what that feels like." She did not follow me, did not beg, did not cry. But the silence that followed me out was not power. It was fear. The knock came 3 days later. Not a frantic knock, not angry, just calm, measured, confident, like someone who already believed they'd won before the door even opened. I knew it was him before I checked the peephole. Ryan, he had the same smirk I remembered from office parties and barbecues. Only this time, it was laced with something new: ownership, arrogance. He stood there in that too tight gray button-down he always wore to flex his gym routine, holding a reusable coffee cup like he was here to catch up, not step into the crater he helped create. "Hey, Nate," he said, "casual mind if we talk." I did not answer. I opened the door just enough to block the frame with my body. His eyes flicked behind me, scanning the hallway. "She's not here," I said. "So whatever you rehearsed, you're re-wasting it." He chuckled. "Look, I'm not here to fight. I figured you'd want closure. I could have laughed if I was not so disgusted. You think this is your role now?" I asked, the wise man stepping in after the mess you made. Ryan sighed, like this was hard for him. Madison did not mean for it to go down like this. Things just got complicated. "You mean when she got pregnant with your kid and lied to me for a year?" He scratched the back of his neck, feigning guilt. "It was messy, I get it. But it's not like we planned it. You and Madison were already drifting. You did not see it. But everyone else did. That line. You did not see it. Like my blindness was the real betrayal." "She made vows," I said. "She broke them. That's not drifting. That's demolition." Ryan leaned against the railing. Like this was just two bros working through their differences. "She said you were distant, cold, even always working, always calculating." Now I did laugh. "You mean the job I worked so she could live like a queen? The bills I paid? The house I built for a family that was not mine?" His jaw tightened, not guilt, just ego bruised. "She needs stability," he said. "Good luck providing it." I snapped. "You reburied in debt. Your ex is circling you like a hawk. And you see a not hold a job longer than 6 months without burning it down." He stood upright. Suddenly not so relaxed. "You do not know anything about me." "Oh, but I do," I said, stepping forward. "I know your ex-wife sent me the emails you begged her to delete. I know about the bankruptcy you tried to bury. I know about the woman you ghosted in Austin, the one who showed up at your job demanding a paternity test." He flinched, just slightly. "But I saw it. You think Madison's going to stand by you when it all comes down?" I continued. "She used me for stability. You think she'll hesitate to cut loose the man who's seeing not even pay for his own Uber rides?" He did not speak. His hands were in fists now, the coffee cup nearly crushed. I leaned in, voice low and calm. "You did not steal my life, Ryan. You inherited a disaster. And she did not choose you because you re better. She chose you because she thinks you re easier to control." He stepped back like I'd hit him. But I was not finished. "One more thing," I said. "If you ever show up at my door again, I'll make public every document I have: her journal, your texts, the paternity results, all of it, not just the lawyers to HR, to every mutual contact we share." His mouth opened, probably to bluff. But I cut him off. "You play dirty, Ryan. But I play smart. You re not in my league." I closed the door in his face, slow and deliberate, no slamming, no drama, just a full stop. Behind it, I finally exhaled, because that was the real closure. Watching the man who helped ruin everything realize he had just walked into something far more complicated than an affair. He was not the hero. He was not the replacement. He was a placeholder in a story I was no longer part of. And one that was about to spiral out of his control. The next shift did not come from Ryan, came from Madison, and it was not loud. It was not some hysterical call or a tearful apology, came in the form of silence. And then an envelope 2 days after Ryan's visit, a courier knocked, no name, just an address scrawled in her handwriting on the front. I almost tossed it. I was done with her games, done with anything that came without a signature or accountability. But curiosity, that old enemy, pried me open just like the flap of that envelope. Inside was a letter, a real one, pen on paper, messy handwriting in some places, practiced in others. I sat at the dining room table and read it twice before even blinking. It was not an apology. It was a warning. Nate, I'm not writing this to ask for anything. I'm writing because you need to understand the other half of the truth. Ryan is not who you think he is. And I do not mean that in a petty way. I mean, he lied to both of us. He told me you cheated first, that you were hiding things, that you did not love me anymore, and we were already pulling away emotionally. So what we had was not real cheating. It was repair. I believed him because I wanted to. That's on me. But it gets worse. You should talk to his ex-wife again. Ask her about the account in Texas, the money trail, the name Joseph K. He.S. not planning to stay with me. Nate, he.S. planning to disappear. The baby was leverage. You think I'm heartless, but I loved you in my own way. I was not ready for the version of life you were building. And I never said that because I thought I could adjust. I know you'll never forgive me. I'm not asking you to. But please do not let your pride blind you now. This man does not just ruin people. He erases them. I read the letter again. Slower. There was a line toward the bottom, squeezed into the margin. Like she tried to stop herself from writing it, but could not. He never even wanted the baby. That was all me. I sat back, heart pounding in a new, unfamiliar way. Not betrayal, not rage, alarm. There was a name in that letter I had not seen before. Joseph K. I did not know what it meant yet, but I knew one thing. Madison had lost her edge. She was cornered now, starting to panic. And panic made her honest. I called Ryan's ex-wife that night. She did not pick up on the first call or the second. But on the third, she answered with a dry, guarded voice. You got it. Did not you? You knew she'd descended? I did not know when. I just knew eventually she'd realize she was not special either. There was bitterness in her voice. Old, heavy, practiced, but also something colder. I need to know about Joseph K. I said, is it him? She sighed. It's one of him. There's more than one name. My stomach turned. Tell me everything. And she did. An entire 30-minute conversation. Names, accounts, a fake consulting firm set up in Texas, Joseph K. Holdings LLC tied to a string of unpaid loans, defaulted debts and phony invoices. Ryan had a pattern. He'd sweep into people's lives, charm his way into trust, milk them dry, and vanish. Sometimes it was women. Sometimes it was old co-workers. One time it was his own cousin. He's like a virus. She said, he does not want stability. He wants access. Why did not you go to the police? I did 3 times, but he's smart. He does not steal in ways they can trace. Everything looks consensual. He waits until people are too embarrassed to speak up. I closed my eyes, jaw tight, and Madison, she's his next exit route. He'll keep her around until something better shows up or until she pushes him too hard. Then he'll leave her holding the debt and the baby. I felt sick, not for Madison, not even for myself, for the baby. Because say what you want about how he got here. That little boy did not choose any of this. And now he was tangled in something deeper than an affair or a broken marriage. He was the anchor in a storm. Neither parent was strong enough to stand in. I hung up and stared at the wall for a long time. Madison was right about one thing. This was not just personal anymore. This was dangerous. And I could not ignore it. Not if I wanted to walk away clean. Not if I wanted to make sure Ryan did not get away with it again. I did not sleep that night. Not out of stress, not fear, focus. Everything felt sharpened. My thoughts, my memories, the details I had not realized were clues before. Ryan was not just a home wrecker. He was a con. And Madison, for all her cold-blooded games, was a pawn who thought she was a queen. But now that I had the full picture, it was not about revenge anymore. It was about exposure. So I started digging. It was not hard. People like Ryan always leave trails, not because they re careless, but because they re arrogant. They believe they re smarter than the system, smarter than everyone. But they re predictable. They reuse names, recycle stories, repeat mistakes. The deeper I went, the more patterns I found. By noon the next day, I had a full dossier. Not just financial records and fake IDs, but emails between Ryan and 2 other women. One of them, a real estate agent in Arizona who thought she was engaged to him. The kicker, the engagement ring she described was the same one he gave Madison. She'd sent me a photo after he proposed. I remembered because the caption read, "Finally, something that feels real." I wanted to feel smug. Instead, I felt nauseous. I contacted a private investigator I knew through an old client. Discreet, expensive, the kind of man who operated with zero drama and left zero fingerprints. He called me back within the hour. "You're not the first person to ask about this guy," he said. "But you might be the first who's got enough to make something stick." "I do not care about sticking it to him," I replied. "I just want to make sure he never pulls this on anyone again." There was a pause. Then the PI said, "You do realize if you move forward with this, if we go public or involve any authorities, Madison goes down to at least socially, maybe legally, depends on how deep she was." That's when I realized how strange it was that I had not thought about protecting her. Not even once. "No," I said finally, "let the chips fall." Later that night, I sent Madison a text short, clean, "We need to meet somewhere neutral. No baby, no Ryan, just you and me 1 hour, then I'm out of your life forever." She replied within 2 minutes. "Fine, that diner on Maple tomorrow at 10. I showed up early. She showed up late. Of course, she did. She slid into the booth across from me, wearing oversized sunglasses and a jacket 2 sizes too big. Like she thought someone might be watching. Maybe Ryan had already started turning cold. Maybe her instincts were finally catching up to her delusion. "I assume this is not about reconciliation," she said flatly. I slid a folder across the table. "Here's everything about Ryan, about Joseph K., about the women, the accounts, even a marriage license under a different alias he used in 2019. She did not touch it. She just stared at it like it might explode. "I'm giving you this as a courtesy," I continued, "so you can decide what kind of ending you want. You can either help expose him or go down with him when he bails and your name's attached to everything he leaves behind." Still, she said nothing. Her fingers twitched against the edge of the booth. But she kept her face neutral. "You were right about one thing," I added. "He never wanted the baby. He wanted what the baby represented: permanence. Safety, a leash for you. But once it became inconvenient, he started planning his exit. You're not the first woman he's done this to." Her voice was quieter than I'd ever heard it. "And what do you get out of this, Nate? Closure, justice?" "No," I said, "I get peace. And I make sure a predator does not get to keep doing this because people are too embarrassed to admit they were fooled." Finally, she picked up the folder, flipped it open. She did not read every page. She just stared at the photo ID clipped to the top. Ryan in a bar in Houston, arm around a woman who was not her, time stamped 3 weeks before the paternity results came back. When she spoke, her voice cracked, just a hairline fracture. I thought I was in control. "You never were," I said. And then I stood. "I'm done here. I've already filed everything with my lawyer and sent copies to the investigator. What you do with your copy, that's your call. But you should ask yourself one thing, Madison." She looked up, eyes glossy. "When he disappears, not if when, and you left holding the bag, do you think anyone's going to believe you did not know?" I walked out without waiting for her answer. Because truthfully, I did not care what it was that I did not hear from her for a week. Not a single call. No texts. No emails. No dramatic voice messages or late-night guilt trips. Just radio silence. A black hole where the chaos used to be. I thought maybe that meant she'd chosen to disappear with him. That she'd buried her pride and the evidence, and went all in on a losing hand. But then last night something changed. I was sitting in my apartment, the temporary one I'd moved into after leaving the house. No framed photos. No warmth. Just 4 white walls and the hum of a refrigerator too old to be quiet. I was halfway through deleting old voicemails when a new number flashed on my phone. Blocked. I answered anyway. Her voice came through brittle but sharp. You were right. No hello. No pretense. I know, I said, which part? All of it. I did not say anything. I wanted her to keep talking. That was always the trick with Madison. Silence made her unfold faster than confrontation. He's gone. She said left yesterday, took the car, the emergency cash, even the baby's formula. I closed my eyes and he took my laptop too and my phone. I'm calling from the neighbors. Of course he did. Anything else missing? She hesitated. My wallet and the baby. He left him in the crib alone. I found him screaming when I got home. There it was, the final act. Ryan had drained her, robbed her and abandoned her with a child that was not his and a house she could not afford. Just like he'd done before. Just like I'd warned her he would. I did not say I told you so. That would have been too easy, too cruel. And I was tired of cruelty. I sent the documents. She continued, all of it, to the local police, to his old employers, to the investigator, even the women you found. I sent them everything. I wrote them a letter. I do not know why. I had to. I stood pacing the floor. What are you trying to tell me, Madison? She was quiet for a moment. Then I want to give you full custody. I stopped cold. You what? I know he's not yours. But you were the only one who actually loved him. The only one who looked at him like he was a person, not a consequence. I sat down slowly, gripping the edge of the table. You're serious? I'm not asking for anything. I'm not trying to guilt you. I do not want to be his mother like this. I'm not me anymore. And he deserves better than a woman who was too stupid to see what was happening until it was too late. I did not know what to say. For the first time since this all began, Madison sounded like a person. Not a performance. Not a manipulator. Not the cold, calculating wife who played me like a prop in her perfect life. Just someone exhausted, cracked human. I need time. I said finally. I figured you would. And then she said something I never expected. Whatever choice you make. I'll sign no fights, no drama. I will not drag you into court, or hold the past over your head. I did not answer. My brain was moving too fast. She spoke one last time before hanging up. You read the only thing in this entire story that was not fake. The line went dead. I sat there for hours, staring at nothing. Because this was not part of the plan. This was not revenge. This was responsibility. And for the first time, it was not about her or him, or betrayal. It was about the child, a boy who did not ask for any of this. And who now had no one, unless I made a decision that would change both our lives forever. I did not rush the decision. I spent the next 4 days trying to live a version of my life that did not involve Madison, did not involve the baby, did not involve picking up the pieces of someone else's disaster. I worked, I ran, I ate takeout in silence. I even went on a date, if you could call it that. Nice woman, quiet dinner, good conversation. But halfway through, when she laughed at something I said, all I could think about was the sound of the baby giggling from the nursery that day I gave him his first plastic keys, not even mine, still echoing in my head. I walked home alone. And I stared at the ceiling that night, knowing exactly why I could not move forward. Not until I settled what was behind me. So I called Madison, told her I'd come by. She said she'd be gone. I'll leave the door unlocked. His things are packed. The house did not feel like our house anymore. It was quieter, and not in a peaceful way. The kind of quiet that follows an argument you see and not take back. Half the furniture was gone. One of the living room walls had crayon marks. He must have gotten to it when no one was watching. I stood in the doorway of the nursery and looked at him. He was asleep, mouth slightly open, little fists balled up by his face like he'd gone to war with the world and passed out from the effort. The blanket he was wrapped in was the same yellow one from before. The one I had mocked in the store and then paid for anyway, because she smiled when she saw it. Now it was the only thing in the room that looked familiar. I sat down in the chair, just watched him breathe. My heart did something weird, not pain, not nostalgia, but something heavier, something rooted. He was not mine, not biologically, not legally, but I had held him when he cried. I fed him at 2 a.m. when Madison accidentally slept through the alarms. I danced around the living room with him to old soul records until he calmed down. I had memorized the sound of his laugh and the weight of his head when it finally dropped against my shoulder. What is fatherhood, really? Is it DNA? Is it paperwork? Or is it showing up? Over and over, even when it hurts. I did not make the decision in that chair. I made it in the hallway after I closed the door behind me and stood in front of the mirror in what used to be our bedroom. My reflection looked like hell, unshaven, pale, wrinkled shirt, but the eyes staring back at me were not broken. They were certain. I picked up the envelope Madison had left on the dresser. Inside, full custody transforms. Signed, witnessed, no tricks, no traps, no hidden clauses, just her signature at the bottom and a handwritten note on a yellow sticky. Take care of him the way I never could. I walked out of that house with the baby in my arms. No fanfare, no tears, no cinematic ending, just a man, a child, and the long road ahead. I did not know what tomorrow looked like. I did not know if he'd ever call me Dad, but I knew I was not walking away. Not this time. Not when someone finally needed me for something real. The first night back in my apartment was brutal. He did not sleep, not really, kept waking up in fits, not crying, but searching. His little face twitching in confusion every time he opened his eyes and saw a new ceiling, new walls, a new world. I held him through most of it, sat in the armchair with a blanket draped around us both. I whispered nonsense just to fill the space. I kept waiting for something to hit me, a breakdown, a sense of finality, fear, but none of that came. What did come was stillness, not peace, not yet, but stillness, like the dust had finally settled after a collapse. And I could finally see the ground again, broken, cracked, messy, but solid. The following weeks moved like molasses. Every day was a gauntlet of figuring things out. Bottles, diapers, late-night appointments, paperwork, re-registering his name, getting pediatrician records transferred, telling people who thought they knew the story that the truth was far more complicated than they had the bandwidth to absorb. I told them just enough not to protect Madison, but because no one deserved to wear her failure except her. People asked questions, curious co-workers, nosy neighbors, a few well-meaning friends tried to pry. Wait, is not he?